going to energize you. We're super excited to be here. I'm Jessica Lee Fleming, the Director of Growth and Inclusion at the Canada Media Fund. I'm Métis and Scottish settler from Penetanguishene and a citizen of the Métis Nation of Ontario. I'm so excited to be here and so honored to share the space with you all. I'm going to ask our panelists, even though you've heard their names, I'm going to ask them to say the companies they work with or founded and name a couple of productions that they've worked on that they're really proud of, so that we get a bit of an opportunity to hear and celebrate their amazing work. Amos, let's start with you.
Hi, there it's on. Amos Adetuyi, Circle Blue Entertainment is my company. Productions proud of over the years would be Akaya Family Chronicle, which was the first Canada-South Africa co-production, and it meant a lot to do that. And then I'll say one of my latest would be Digstown, which is a legal drama on CBC.
Amazing.
Hi everyone, my name is Maria Kennedy. I'm owner and co-founder of Little Engine Moving Pictures, and we make kids and family series and interactive content. I'm going to talk about my two, I guess, favorite projects. One of them, it's not in case, it was our first feature film called The Limits. It was in 2006, I believe, and we won that year Best Canadian Drama at Reelworld Film Festival. It was the first festival we ever won at, and thank you, Tanya Williams. And so I'm incredibly proud of that feature film as well. Probably the most recent series that we're doing right now, it's called Tiny and Tall. It's a preschool 3D animated series that we're making for TVO kids in Ontario, in Canada, and Knowledge Kids as well.
Testing. Okay. Hi, I'm Georgina, and that's my sister Rennata. We're both Lopez Productions, and we're based in Toronto. We also specialize in TV for kids content, mostly live action, unscripted. And we've done shows like The Fabulous Show with Faye and Fluffy, which is our show on Family Junior. And we also just did Bestest Day Ever with My Best Friend, which is a preschool show for CBC. Ditto. No. I am Rennata. I am the other half of Lopez. And yeah, I mean, we do that, and we've also done shows for TVO Kids and Knowledge and shows for TFO as well.
Thank you very much. So we're here to talk about not just how to create a company that can survive, but how to create a company that thrives in this industry. In my work doing equity and inclusion, I'm particularly interested in how do we retain the most talented and exciting people, the most hardworking people in our industry, and how do we support that social sustainability, not just company sustainability, but career sustainability. And so really excited to hear from you all. And to open up, I think I would like to hear from you all about how you define company sustainability and how that relates to either your personal or your company values system. I think this is in particular interest to us as Indigenous or racialized folks. Like, this is a big part of how we work and how we work in communities. So I'll start with Maria, I'll start with you.
Okay. You know, in all honesty, when you asked about company sustainability, I had to Google it, because I was thinking environmental sustainability. And yes, I bring a metal cup to work every day, and you know, we work from home now, you know, so we come in 2 days a week, and so we're helping in that regards. But I guess on a deeper level, it's more about, I think for us, it's about social responsibility. And Little Engine, we really do put at the forefront that we support and we champion inclusivity and diversity. And so, and we try to create a network and an ecosystem. Ryan Singh, who's always inspiring me, he's down there in the back. But we create an ecosystem of creators and producers who are who are diverse and believe in the same thing.
How would you explain the connection between creating that ecosystem and what you wanted to seed in the industry? You as a producer, you as a founder.
Sorry, could you say that one more time?
You talked about creating an ecosystem of
Yes.
collaborators, and I
Right.
think that's really interesting, and I feel that that's a thread that comes up again and again when we talk about, you know, company sustainability, but maybe you can talk a little bit about how that connects to your personal values.
Okay, sure, absolutely. So I'll just talk a little bit about my projects and how how we bring about that ecosystem of diversity and inclusivity. So with our very first project, The Limits, not a kids program, but a feature film, the leads were South Asian characters, and it was a South Asian story set in a motel on the, in Scarborough. So in terms of, our casting and the people that we hire, we make sure that there's always diversity in the people we hire, the people we work with, and in the projects that we develop. In 2018, I had a preschool pitch initiative, and we received over 70 pitches across Canada, the US, and the UK. And for me, it was important to develop a project that focused on diversity and also and had gender balance. We picked, of the 70, we picked a project. It was called Tiny and Tall, and it's about two best friends who are very different people. They live in different communities that are on mountaintops that are connected by a rope bridge, and the communities never connect until one day Tiny crosses the bridge, meets Tall, and they become best friends. This was written by a woman, Madeline Donahue, and we made sure that we were working with animators and writers. Our writing team, we hired an all-diverse writing team that was also gender balanced.
Amos, I can ask you. Did you remember we were on a panel just now? How about you? You've been in the business for, I won't say too long, but a while. How does it distinct for you?
It's something that evolves, but currently, Circle Blue Entertainment, we define our sustainability around our mantra, which is content without borders. We reposition ourselves. We looked at what did we do and what are the people we have. By the way, I didn't come up with that tagline. It's Paul Evans in the audience here who came up with that. Great marketing brain. But so we surround ourselves with folks that have a like-mindedness, and that sustains that idea that we have, that this is the kind of shows and the projects we want to do. And then in reciprocity, we make sure that we keep these folks on as much as we can. And hard times, good times, you just when you have folks that you have a like mind with, that's so important in terms of sustainability and sustaining your goals. So that all rolls into it for us. I have the good fortune of one of my closest affiliates, Floyd Kane. We've been working together for years and years, and it's interesting when you find somebody who resonates with you, and we have the similar goals around diversity. So we've sustained ourselves, so to speak, keeping ourselves encouraged and keep going at it. So that's important.
I wonder if anyone has thoughts on when you find yourself in a situation where you realize that you're maybe not aligned with the people you're working with, like that your values aren't actually working, that it's not going to be sustainable. I know Georgina and Rennata, you kind of forged your own path at one point, and maybe you want to speak to that and what brought you to take that chance.
Sure. Yeah, Rennata and I had both been working separately in the industry. We made a point not to work with each other because as twins, people tend to think that we're the same person. But then we had both been producing for other people, and I think that we didn't have I personally never had the goal to start my own company because I was very comfortable working for other people. But Rennata and I, we came together one summer, and she said, like, we've been talking about, we always sit and talk about, oh, I wish we could do things differently if we were in charge. So we decided to just do it. We filmed our own pilot, and we pitched it, and then our pilot got picked up for development by TVO, and at that point, Rennata and I were like, we're in a company, so let's do it. I think for us, it was being, for us, important was working with people that we want to work with, and I know that everyone here has spoken about diversity and inclusion, but for us, we just wanted to make sure that it wasn't just token words. We actually wanted to put people in front of the cameras and behind the scenes that were in positions of power, as writers and directors. And our shows started to get picked up. People were asking us, oh, well, how do you do it? And we said, well, everyone has been saying it for the same, amount of time. It's like, if you hire authentic and diverse voices, you will get authentic and diverse stories. That's our mandate.
Beautifully said. Do you want to add anything, Rennata? Yeah, I think we should applaud that. That's beautiful. Yeah. Is there anything that you want to add, Rennata?
No, I mean, I think what she said was great.
Yeah.
I just, there was, for us, we weren't really, like she said, we weren't really trying to, let's go create a production company. We did a panel with a bunch of business students at Schulich School of Business, and they were asking about our business plan and our 5-year goals and all those wonderful questions. And we didn't have we didn't have those things.
We're working on it.
We're working on it. But really, it was about passion, and it was about wanting to create a company. We remember the impact of TV on us as kids, and how very little I can remember, the handful of content where we saw kids like us, and how much it made an impact on us. And we really wanted to create shows where every kid could see themselves.
That's amazing. Was there a moment where first of all, you said something really kind of off the cuff that I think is important to highlight, which is that you began the work before you had everything in motion or everything prepared. And I think that's a really important thing to kind of to echo and to demystify this idea that you have to have everything perfectly lined up, and then you'll finally be ready to be a good producer or have a great company. And in fact, no, that's rarely how things go. It's usually very messy, and that's kind of where the beauty in the work comes out. And so I'm curious to hear from you if there's a moment, actually from hopefully from all of you, although I'm looking at Amos's phone for the time because we're running out of it so quickly. Can you name a moment where you went from surviving to thriving, or a moment that you felt like you had achieved that point?
Well, for us, like I said, I was working for other companies. So for me, the hardest part of starting my own company was turning down work that paid well and making nothing. And for the first 2 years, I really did make nothing. I'm very grateful for my husband who, helped. But unlike other people, we had I couldn't just ask my parents to lend me money or have, those. So we really just were used to, as immigrants, working from nothing and making your way to the top. So I think for me, the moment that I considered us thriving, which was, just paying our bills, being like, I don't have to worry about covering rent, and also making it full time. And also, just showing my kids that we could make a company that was important to us and, make it our full-time jobs.
Thank you. And yeah. What about you, Maria? Is there a moment you sort of can pinpoint?
I think there are several moments, but one that I can think of right now is it was in 2019, and it was at the Youth Media Alliance Awards of Excellence, and my company, and I should also mention my husband. He's the co-founder, Ben Mazzotta, co-founder of my company. He's a writer and director, and I did want to add that in terms of company sustainability, having people whom you know, siblings, family, friends who you trust, who have, who have complementary skill sets. Those are make the strongest companies, I think. So it was in 2019 we won this award, and then after the awards, a young woman from Montreal, a young black woman, came up to me and she said, when you went up to receive the award, I called my mom and I said, the first person of color has gone up to receive an award. And I think there were maybe 2 that year, or 3. It might have been 3 of us. Yeah, so I did feel a sense of accomplishment.
Thank you, yes. There have been a couple of moments where this idea of not being able to call on your family, your parents, to say, hey, can you bail me out? And actually, when we were talking to prepare for this panel, we did bring up this idea of, not being able to rely on generational wealth, which is the reality for a lot of us, or not having even the network. I remember entering and knowing nobody. So then there's no one you can phone to say this bad thing happened or this good thing happened. You're really just in it by yourself, and you kind of build your network that way. And Amos, you said something really interesting when we were discussing this. So I wonder if I can bring it to you to ask about some of the unique approaches or opportunities that Indigenous and Black and racialized producers have in building their companies. What can we look to as possible and inspiring, and maybe what are some challenges?
There we go. Yeah, that's an interesting question. It's, as a racialized person, you just do it, or again, you just go out and you do what you feel you want to do and tell the stories you want to tell. So over time, you begin to see that in terms of the broadcasters and the so-called gatekeepers and things like that. They're interested to a point, right? So then you have to figure out, well, how do you get past that gauntlet and stuff. So over the years, it really is perseverance, I would suggest, and a bit of creativity. And as far as the barriers that you come up against, I'll just share a very quick story with Akaya, that first Canada-South Africa co-production. We were trying to get CBC to do this show. We were in development with them. They weren't coming to a decision, it was going to fall off the bubble if we didn't get a decision soon. So we went, and the barrier was access. So we had one of the folks in our team had a card, a CBC pass card, and we got my brother Alphonse who was the smoker, to take this pass card, go in the smoker room, and hang out there until these execs would drop by, and corner them and be like, "So what are you gonna do on our show?" So it's.
When is your bio coming out? Your autobiography? This is good stuff.
But it's those sort of things, and then Alphonse was part of the original Black Film Video Foundation 40 odd years ago. I saw a need, and so I said, well, let's rally ourselves, and it was actually Paul DeSilva and I tried to get this thing called Canadian Media Producers, or Diverse Media Producers. Anyway, it only got so far. We tried to launch a network called Canada One. There was a lot of money involved, a lot of folks. And ultimately, CRTC said no, but we pushed the needle around. So it's kind of like making opportunities, making people aware, and just keep pushing is kind of the thing.
It really is an entrepreneurial mindset, isn't it? It's like you hear of all these folks who patent great inventions or start businesses. It's like, yeah, I failed 50 times, and then I founded this app, and now I run Duolingo or whatever it is. But yeah, that's really.
Can I add something, Jessica?
Yes,
I think
please.
honestly, being a woman and a woman of color, I think I've always had to, speak louder and scream to get attention. And I think everyone here has probably, been the only one in the writer's room or the only one on the team. And you just have to speak up and be loud. And I think it just kind of came with us that we sort of shouted for opportunities and kind of made opportunities, and it kind of made us fight harder. So I think that we actually have, a bit of an advantage in the sense that we sort of already come with that skill set of speaking up loudly and making ourselves known in the room. And it became a great skill when it was time to start our business, because we were already like trying to break down the door.
Love that. A question for Maria, maybe I'll start with you. Our success and sustainability, company sustainability, do you think these are the same thing? How or maybe how not?
Yeah, I don't think they're the same thing. So the sustainability of our company, aside from trying to do, well, I think company sustainability for us is trying to thrive, but we're also trying to do social good. There's, in every project that I develop, there's the goal of changing the world in a positive way, in our own way. So that's always at the back of my mind. And I was raised, my parents I consider them to be social activists in a lot of ways, and they were both educators. They wanted to do good, and I wanted to carry on their tradition that they instilled in me. But in terms of success can be many things. Like, to me, success is paying off my mortgage and making sure my kids are in all the activities that they want to be in. Perhaps for other companies and other entrepreneurs, success might be, growing a multi-million-dollar company. So it really depends on what your version of success is. In terms of Little Engine, for me, the next goal for success is to do international co-productions. So we're doing a co-production with a company in the UK, where we're talking about co-ventures with companies in the US, although there's no the tax credits, everything's a little bit different, but I'm looking at bringing money outside of Canada into Canada, being able to hire more full-time employees, and build my company that way. So to me, that's I guess that's my version of success.
This is such a warm room. It's really nice to be doing this conversation with you. Do you have anything you want to add to that, Georgina?
I guess for us, again, we started our company 5 years ago, and we have done 6 original series in the 5 years, and mostly in Canada. I think for us, success was, I keep considering ourselves new, and I'm like, oh, we're emerging, and I think Rennata's always like, you have to say we did it. Come on, we're thriving. But I think we were just in France at MIP, and we went there for the first time, overwhelmed, and people knew who we were, and they knew our shows, and this was international. So to me, that was success.
Amazing. Yeah, do you want to answer as well?
Sure. I mean, sustainability and success, I guess I've been at it so long, if I could say, that to me they start to blend, where if you are able to stay true to your goals, then as you sustain yourselves, as you just being the kind of a last person standing after so many years, there's a certain success that to be able to talk to the broadcasters, to do the international meetings, to meet, like with, a great meeting we had with Kevin Hart's company, meet with BET, to all this stuff. It's just like, oh, well, they take my calls now because I've been around so long. So that's great, right? That's just this sustainability begets success in a certain sense, and yeah.
I'm going to ask all of you a quick question, and then I think open it up, because I know there are folks who are eager to have their questions answered. But maybe before we do that, how many folks in the room here are producers, actually producers, yeah? Okay, so quite a few. And how many of you have made more than, let's say, 3 projects? Okay, good. So that can maybe help us to answer. I think it's important that you all have something concrete to take away. So I'm going to ask our panelists, what is one concrete or tangible piece of advice you wished you'd known as you grew or stabilized your company or your projects? Maybe we'll start with you, Rennata, at the end. Yeah.
I thought about this in advance. Definitely trust yourself, I think, is the one that I've landed on. I think that we spend a lot of time being like, oh, you know, when I'm ready, I'll be able to do this, or if I have, you know, the following successful things, then I'll go do my own project. Or I think we spend a lot of time kind of blowing things off and saying we're going to do it later. And I compare it to kind of like if anyone's a parent. You don't know, like when you're not ready to be a parent, it just kind of happens, and then you just have to go with it. And honestly, being a production company is similar. It happened for us, and then we were in it, and now we're like, okay, we're gonna try to be as successful as we can. So I think really just trust yourself, and just do it. I know that's
Beautiful. Yeah.
Just do it. I think, yeah, sort of along the same, just be passionate about what it is that everyone here is probably, all the producers shopping a project. The question is, like, why you? Why do you want to do it? And why should people give you money to go do it? And I think it's just be really passionate, have a real reason to be the one that's doing that project. And people will listen to you because you want to do it for the right reasons, and you want to tell your story. And that's how you get in the room, is you have to get other people excited about your idea and why they want to work with you.
I think the most important asset you have is, aside from your voice, which is by far the most important, are your human resources, the people who you work with, who you're aligned with, and you know, I call myself, I'm a producer first. I'm a creative producer, but I am not a writer. So I have to align myself with incredibly creative writers. So I find amazing writers, amazing directors to work with, to partner with. So find your partnerships and find them. If you're young, find them now. And it's very true what Georgina and Rennata have said. And Tracy Melchor said earlier, I was so inspired, oh my gosh, when she said, start as you are. You can be a producer, you are a producer now. And so if you're a producer, produce. If it means, you know, scrapping like $500 together with a bunch of friends and using sweat equity, make your little project. And don't bury it, like pitch it, show it to people, send it to as many people as possible. I was very inspired by the former head of TVO Kids, Marnie Malabar, and I asked her, I said, how can I do better as a producer? What am I missing out on? The first thing she said was, Maria, use your voice. You talk about so many other people and their accolades. Talk about what your abilities are, because I've been in this now for 27 years, starting from a PA to producing kids and family shows. I know what I'm talking about. So find your confidence. Get your experience. Another piece of advice she said was she said, for broadcasters, this is a very practical piece of advice, offer them more. So for example, in the last series I did, I threw in 4 2-minute music videos for free. And maybe not everyone can do that, but sometimes you have to go above and beyond. And I'm sure Georgina, Rennata, and Amos can perhaps agree to that. And yeah, it comes back to, and you know, use your voice. If you're a writer, write. If you're a producer, produce. If you're a creator, create in whatever way you can.
Thank you, Maria. And Amos, what's a concrete or tangible piece of advice you have?
Develop. That's a hard lesson I learned early on, because you either are developing one project you're passionate about and it could take you a year or two, and that means other things aren't being developed, or you're fortunate enough to be in production and you're like, oh, I'm in production now, and let go of development. But developing, keeping that in the forefront, that's your future. That's what you're going to be doing, hopefully, in the next year, 2, 3 years. And that means connecting with great writers. I know as emerging producers, it's more difficult, of course, to attract writers, but that's what the challenge is how do you get a well-produced writer to give you access to the material? You got to show them, I'm going to take this all the way, I'm going to make it for you, let's make this together. That is the single piece of advice, is make those relationships with writers, develop and develop with different projects, multiple projects, several, not just one or two.
Several. Amos is watching us. We have to do him proud. And I think you also mentioned in our prep call too that there's more development opportunities and funding available now than ever before. And so to really tap into that and to be, when we were in the throes of COVID, I remember somebody giving advice to me. I was working at a nonprofit. They said, there's money out there right now. Even if you don't think you're going to need it, just go for it. Just try. And I think that's a really valuable piece of advice too. Like, just keep applying. Just keep practicing and applying so that you can get that funding and get your ideas off the ground. Yeah. I want to open it up to the room. I'm not sure what the microphone traveling situation is, but I'm happy to, hello. Are there questions for our panelists? We have a question here and a question here. Thanks.
Thank you guys so much for this. I just wanted to ask, so we hear a lot about your reason. You have to have a reason why you want to make this thing. I would love to hear from each speaker an example of a reason for making something that you think would fly with a broadcaster or an investor. I hear it a lot and I kind of understand what it means, but I really would love to hear examples.
Okay. I think for us, or for me personally, the reason behind every project is different. And the overall, obviously we have an overall mandate as a company, but each project sort of comes with a different why. Working on the fabulous show with Faye and Fluffy, I'm not part of the LGBTQ plus community, but it was important to me. It was important to me to make the show. I knew we were going to be told no, and that inspired me to even more to do it. I think it's important for marginalized groups to support other marginalized groups, and I just really wanted it to get made. And I think now that it was made, and now that the world is seemingly backwards in a lot of ways with LGBTQ plus issues, I'm just really I think we just need to keep taking projects and helping and make that the why. Because the why is because we have to. We should.
Well, I mean, it's sort of the same. I guess it's just, I think it was because of the backlash that we were it was also people reaching out and saying, thank you so much for making a show like this. So thank you I finally was able to see myself, or I wish I had this show as a child. And I think we're all making shows for the child that we were. And I think that's the reason why is for us, is it really is important to us, is just to make sure that everyone can see themselves on TV.
For me, it's the reasons are often different for making specific projects, but overall, I also go back to my childhood. I was born and grew up in a small town in Newfoundland that was 99.9% white people, and I think there might have been 2 Filipinos. My mom's Filipino, and my dad's Irish Canadian, and I just didn't see enough people who looked like me on TV. I watched Sesame Street and also The Polka Dot Door, and I saw women of color, and I realized that the TV set, the television is powerful, and as a TV producer and as a film producer, we have such power, especially for us, for children who are young and can be influenced. So ultimately, I want to be able to make an impact with every story I tell. And I'm actually, I think that Amos had mentioned earlier, you have to develop. You also have to sometimes diversify. So 2024 is going to be a really tough time, I think. So Little Engine, we're developing also documentaries that, to me, I think are impactful. So for me, it's about making a change for good.
Sure. When asked from a broadcaster the reason why you're doing this, I always think it's a bit of a trick question. I think what they're looking for is what's the nugget that's going to look good in a press release if and when we actually make this thing. And I never go political with that. I just find something in the story that ultimately, of course, is going to have some something to do with why I want to make this, or why this writer or our team wants to make this. It'll have some of our undertones of what we're about, but it's a personal story because of this, or it's that's really, I think, what they're asking. I think if that makes sense.
Thank you. We had another question here? Okay, great.
Hi, my name is Ashley Agate. Thank you all for being here. I'm an emerging producer, and one of my goals is to start my own production company, but I know that there are some skills that I'm lacking. So do you think I just want to ask the panel, is it necessary for me to just join a production company and learn the ropes first before I get into that realm, or should I just go for it?
Great question. Does anyone have yes, you look ready. She's got you.
Even though I said earlier, go for it and trust yourself, I'm going to also say that volunteering and working on sets in every role that you can will make you a better producer. I think that there are definitely people who are able to completely bypass delivering coffees on set and just going straight into producing. But I think that I personally find that although they end up being great producers, they're always sort of lacking the knowledge. I think it's important to know. I think it makes me a better producer that I understand production because I was there. I understand post. I understand like the different departments better, and it makes me a better showrunner because I understand it and I was there.
Yeah, you can even just like go into like the areas that you don't know. Just be like, say, I don't know post-production. Can I go volunteer in post or just shadow people, job shadowing? Everyone likes shadowing and mentoring. And, even if you're like, I'll do it for free and I'll be there with you, just take all the opportunities you can to learn.
Do we have time for some more questions? We have, 1, 2, great.
Hello, my name is Margaret, and what's up, Amos? I just had a question regarding sustainability. So I work in a position where I tend to see a lot of different types of businesses within the media and entertainment sector. So that's film, television, music, live entertainment, sports. I primarily work with businesses that are on the film and television side, so I do get a range of businesses that are starting up versus those that have been established for a very long time. And one of the things that I think is interesting when I think about sustainability is the financial aspect of it, which is there a structure in place that will actually, because at the end of the day, you want to do development, you want to make something, it all requires money, right? And just kind of curious from your perspective, you guys all run successful companies. What does financial stability mean to you guys, other than the fact that you're able to pay yourself and put food on the table and a roof over the head for your family? But what does financial stability look like in the sense of your business?
For me, it's having a small group of employees that in which we can develop projects around like 12 months of the year, because you always need to be in development or have projects that are developed and ready to pitch to broadcasters, networks, and buyers and streamers. Because at this point, I've already established all the global relationships with the streamers and the Canadian broadcasters. That's your base. That's sort of your trigger fund, our Canadian broadcasters. And then the funding agencies, CMF, Ontario Creates, whatnot. But it's to have that employee team and we work as a team. So for me, that's success. That's sustainability. Sorry.
I think. Do you mind if I jump onto something? I just came back from the EAVE Producers Workshop in Europe, and this came up a lot, and I think it kind of connects to what you were saying, Amos, about development. For anyone in the room who doesn't know, development money can be research, script writing, series Bible creation. We have some emerging folks in this room. Not everything that goes to development goes to production. And so a common kind of trap, I think, is to do a whole bunch of development and then you go and try and do a whole bunch of production instead of, like you were saying, you're always developing. If you kind of build out like a Gantt chart of your projects, it's like they should be sort of like waterfalling a little bit. So maybe there's something more specific one of you wants to add to that, but I think this comes up a lot for folks, yeah.
Yeah, I think definitely in terms of like financial stability and starting, you know, while Georgina and I knew a lot about, you know, making shows and working for other people, there were certain things that we didn't know when we went into it, like interim financing and getting, you know, that you don't just, you know, get a big chunk of money from the broadcaster. It all comes in very slowly in drawdowns, and we didn't have the money up front. To a lot of people, you know, were able to, you know, get a loan from someone else and able to kind of help themselves throughout. And we just didn't have that money, so we were, you know, made sure to be paying other people, and we paid sort of everyone else but us, which obviously is not a long-term thing. But I think that's sort of one of the things that we definitely learned was that for us, once we were able to, you know, onto several projects, we were able to, that sort of worry about not having the money in between each project went away. So I think for sure that that's something kind of long-term.
We have 1 minute left, and then, yeah. Maybe we'll go, do you have a quick question? Okay.
The bad times. How do you get out of that mode and get back on the grooves to get you back? Oops, you really need it? The bad times. How do you get back to your goals to get you back on the route to your sustainability?
Great question. Maybe we can have one person answer. Amos, you ready?
Sure. I love talking about bad times, sure. When my car was repossessed. No, we're talking 30 years ago. It's okay, it's a while.
That book needs to come out.
But to Margaret's point, in terms of sustainability and the bad times, the connection there, the connectivity is good financial advice, right? That'll help you through the bad times. You think that, you know, it's just, I'm going to deal with it. Oh, that's probably one of the best times to get financial advice from, you know, business affairs type people, accountants, that as soon as you can afford that in your company, and I'm talking hundreds of thousands of dollars are moving through, that's how it's important at that stage. It doesn't need to be millions, because it's about cash. Cash is king. Cash flow, in fact, is king, and that's when you get the bad times, is when you mess up your cash flow, or something messes you. You know, there's things that out of your control, of course, but that's what I always say is, how do you get out of it? You dig yourself out of it financially in terms of a plan. Look at what do you got, what's in here, what do I need? Do I need to trim back? You know, unfortunately, if someone has to be let go, that's the truth of it. You have to change your office setting, whatever it is, but that's all about financial planning ultimately. And you just kind of put your blinders on, you just put that out of your mind, and you carry on with development and looking for the next one and the next one, and just keep on as if you have no financial problems. There is no down.
Keep on keeping on.
Yeah, you just keep on.
Beautiful. Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you to the panelists, Rennata, Georgina, Maria, Amos. Thank you all for being here with us today. Amazing. Thank you.